Evening, peeps. Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully, you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget as well to like and share the vid. Also, don't forget, we have 2 lives this week. Tomorrow, we have a live at 7 o'clock as we build up to Eubank versus Smith. A good undercard on that as well. We got Eko Usman versus Chris Kongo. What else is on there? Riakporhe versus Glowacki. Joseph Parker's on there against Jack Massey. Not quite sure about that one. Fraser Clark's on there, so we can talk about the whole card. And then we are live on Saturday, 8 o'clock. We're going to get going, the live watch along for Eubank versus Smith as well. So live tomorrow, 7 o'clock, live Saturday at 8 o'clock. All right, now that's done. Let's see what there is to talk about from the world of boxing. Before we do that, very quickly, that slap thing that's going around, I think Dana White is now the head of it. I think that thing's ridiculous. I think it's fucking ridiculous. I'm shocked that it's even being sort of called a sport. I'm shocked that it's been allowed. I'm shocked that it's got a broadcaster. I'm just shocked all round. I don't know why anyone would want to take part in that. I just find it crazy. There was one today and a guy looked like he was outweighed by, I don't know, 100 pounds, and he got slapped and his face just swelled up and he was bleeding. And I was like, what is this? Like, you're just standing there for someone to slap you. I find it crazy. Honestly, I can't believe that people actually like watching that. I know you guys have a dig at me for doing the misfit stuff. I mean, come on. You can't compare. Someone tweeted, they actually said, you wouldn't be saying this if DAZN was showing it. And I said, I bloody would. I wouldn't be doing it. It's horrible. Rubbish. Certainly wouldn't have no part in that. I can't believe that's called a sport. All right, let's start. What's the stories today? Natasha Jonas's manager, so this is Joe Gallagher, feels that Shields' fight is possible for April. They both want the fight. I can see why they both want it. I can understand why Claressa Shields wants it. She'll look at it as, no disrespect to Tasha, but she'll look at it as easy work. I mean, Shields is a much bigger girl than Tasha Jonas. I know Tasha's done well jumping a few weight classes to win belts at 154 pounds. But, I mean, we saw what Claressa did to Savannah. And Savannah's a big, big girl. Claressa's too big, too strong, and let's be honest, too good, I think, for Tasha. I know Tasha done fantastically well last year. What did she have, 3 fights? But, I mean, there's a difference between the level she was fighting and Claressa Shields. I mean, Claressa Shields is an incredible boxer. So, yeah, I don't understand the want for this fight. I say the want for this fight. I get why both of them want it. But if I'm Joe Gallagher, I maybe try and go down the Terry Harper route. 2 girls that have come from the same weight, so they're both naturally quite small. They both jumped to 154. They both got belts there. Do that fight. Have a unification. It'll be a rematch of the fight they had, 3 years ago. Do that. And if you're Tasha, I can understand why Tasha wants it. Tasha wants a crack at the GOAT. I get it. She wants that. It's a big money fight as well. But, yeah, I don't think this would end well for Tasha. I really don't. Again, this isn't a dig at her. I think she's a fantastic fighter, but I think she's just too small. She's just too small for Claressa Shields. Although Claressa coming down, I know Clarissa's fought at 154 before, but Claressa coming back down to that weight, she might not like it. So, but no, not for me. Beterbiev not concerned with Usyk giving advice to Yarde. Yeah, and he shouldn't be. I mean, what advice can he give him? Do you know what I mean? I know Beterbiev and Usyk fought a few times as amateurs, but I mean, there's one thing someone giving advice. There's another thing in that boxer being able to kind of take on the advice you've given them and actually use it in the fight. Look, Beterbiev, I saw that interview. Beterbiev was just very like, so what? Like, it doesn't matter. Look, I'm excited for this fight. Really can't wait for it. I'm not quite sure what's on the undercard. I've not had a look. But again, looking forward to that fight. Hopefully, DAZN get the international rights as well. I say that because I just want to be at every big fight. Although I'm not at the Eubank Smith one on the day, I'm going up there on Thursday to be part of it, the build-up, interview some fighters, and I want to do the same here. I'd love to go and interview Beterbiev and Yarde and Tunde Ajayi and get the feel for it. And I feel like DAZN should be showing all these fights. Like, it shouldn't just be Matchroom. It should be everything, man. That's the idea of DAZN. Like, you know, you can show all the fights, and that should be, I think, the thing going forward. What else have we got here? Robert Garcia expects Ryan Garcia to be too much for Gervonta Davis. Yeah, I think we're going to start to see sort of a divide of people taking sides here. Look, I think it's a great scrap. Obviously, I did a video, was it yesterday? I don't even know where I am now. I feel like I do so many videos, but I did a video, I think yesterday, talking about what's going on with this fight. It hasn't been signed yet. No contracts have been sent over. And it's good that because I saw Mike Coppinger tweet something that I said as well. Like, it's okay with contracts not being exchanged if you're on the same side of the street. If it's the same promoter, same broadcaster, that's fine. Fine-ish, right? Because you understand each other. You've worked with each other. Two different broadcasters, two different promoters that don't really see eye to eye as well. Contracts need to be signed, like ASAP. All right, quick one. Let's talk about Dereck Chisora. I saw Dereck Chisora. He was at Misfits on Saturday, and I actually tried to avoid him. And the reason why, I admit I'm probably being a bit of a pussy here, but I tried to avoid him just because I was saying quite a lot in the build-up to Chisora Fury. Like, I didn't want the fight. The fight shouldn't have happened. Chisora should retire. And sometimes you don't know how these fighters are going to take it. Some fighters understand that you're just here doing a job. You know, you're trying to be as honest as possible. Some fighters, and I've had this issue with some fighters, they don't really like you talking about them. That's a fact. And Chisora sometimes can be a bit crazy. Sometimes can be a bit one can short. So I actually saw him in the corner of my eye, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to go up to you. I don't know if you've watched a video. I don't know if someone's told you something I said in the video. So I didn't want to go up to him. So at the end of the night, he's doing loads of interviews, and I'm making a beeline to go home. So he's there, and I'm about 100 meters that side, and I'm trying to get out the door. And he says, "Oi!" And I'm like, he ain't talking to me. He says, "Oi, Ade." And it obviously was me. And I was like, "Oh, shit, what's up, Chisora? How are you?" So I go over anyway, and he's very cool, very courteous, and he's actually talking about the Misfits event. He's like, "Oh, yeah, this is crazy. Like, it's incredible. Like, the amount of people there, it's going to do crazy numbers, blah, blah." So we're talking about that. And then he says to me, "I've got something crazy coming up." I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's interesting. What's he talking about? So I go away, and I'm with someone. I'm like, what could he have crazy coming up? I'm like, sort of scratching my brain, thinking, what is he talking about? Because I'm trying to think of opponents. Because look, he's not going to get a world title shot. Obviously, not going to happen. It's not going to be the Wilder fight. It's certainly not going to be AJ. He wouldn't get in there with Joe Joyce, I don't think. So in my head, I was thinking, it could be the Dillian Whyte trilogy, right? That always sells, those two. And then I thought, wait a second, bruv. Wait a second. He's talking about Francis Ngannou. Like, honestly, it just, dong. He's talking about Francis Ngannou. He has to be talking about Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, the former UFC heavyweight champion, now released or let go or has walked away from the UFC, wants to box, has been open about boxing. There's been numerous times, I think there was a time, was it after the Dillian Whyte fight where he got in the ring and went nose to nose with Tyson Fury? I think there's been photos and footage of him sparring Joe Joyce. He loves boxing. So much so, he even thought he was going to be a boxer before he was a kickboxer and an MMA fighter. So boxing is his first love. Now, Chisora probably is the ideal first opponent for Francis Ngannou to fight. And it's a big fight as well in terms of Chisora's a name. Francis Ngannou, is known as a killer in the UFC. It almost just makes sense. It makes sense if Francis Ngannou is successful, before he tries to take on one of the big boys. Chisora is that kind of perfect gatekeeper who will also sell the fight very, very well. And it must be that. And then I saw a tweet about it today. I think it was IFL TV's page. And I think Sonny Edwards sort of retweeted it or something, confirming it, that these guys are in discussions. Francis Ngannou versus Dereck Chisora. And as much as I said I want to see Chisora retire, and I said that, right? To be fair, I've been saying that for the past 5 years with Chisora. I don't think I mind him going in the ring with Ngannou. I've watched all of Ngannou's UFC fights, and yes, he's strong, and yes, there's one-punch knockout power, but he's not a great boxer. He hasn't got great hands at all. I don't look at him and think technically this guy's very good. Very strong, don't get me wrong, and look, his power could be Wilder-esque power, but there's no technique to it, which in itself can bring some problems to his opponent, just because you don't know what to do. How do you get sparring for someone who throws windmills and haymakers? So look, I think that's going to happen. I really do. I mean, look, Francis Ngannou has other options. It could be Bellator. It could be this new PFL pay-per-view thing that Jake Paul's doing, although I don't think they have anyone over there that's a big enough name for him to fight yet to generate the kind of money that I guess Ngannou would want. Whereas Chisora Ngannou, I think, does good business. From a business standpoint, whoever picks it up, whether it be DAZN, I hope so, or Sky, I think it does big business. I really do. So I would be shocked now, again, going on what Chisora said, Ngannou being out of contract and wanting to box, desperate to box, and then going on this tweet today, I'd be shocked if that fight doesn't happen next. Francis Ngannou, former UFC heavyweight champion versus Dereck Chisora. And I would make, well, look, Chisora could get caught, but I'd make Chisora the favourite. I'd make Chisora the favourite. I mean, again, Ngannou's a huge man. He really is. I mean, this is a guy that is touching that 300-pound mark, I think, 280, 270. He's a big guy. We know he's got power, but this is boxing. And again, you watch him strike, and he's not very clean with his boxing. It's just very wild. It's very wild. But maybe, Chisora is not technically the most gifted himself. So look, maybe it's a risky fight for Chisora. But yeah, I expect to see Francis Ngannou versus Chisora sometime in the summer, maybe earlier than that, maybe the spring, March, April. And again, I think it's a fight that will do big numbers, real big numbers. Talking about heavyweight fights and fights that will do big numbers, Fury Usyk, what's going on? There's a lot going on, I think, is the answer to that question. I don't think the fight's going to happen in the Middle East. Could be wrong. I don't think it's going to happen. And I think Frank Warren said something, was it Bob, that if it doesn't happen in the Middle East, then new contracts need to be drawn up for the fight to happen in Wembley. Again, I said this the other day. Your pay packet is completely different from the fight happening in the Middle East and the fight happening in Wembley. It's completely different. So I guess they're going to have to redraw contracts up. Will that delay the fight? Possibly. A fight of that magnitude, I feel like you need to start going now, especially if they're talking, again, that March, April period. But yeah, I don't expect it anymore to happen in the Middle East, which, look, is good for us, not great for the fighters because they want to get paid as much as they want to get paid, right? And I'm telling you now, it will be a big difference. I don't know what the site fee would have been for it to be in the Middle East, but it would have been a nice site fee, which would have been obviously split amongst the fighters and promoters. So yeah, it is a big difference, but hopefully it doesn't mean there's an issue moving forward with this fight, although I kind of expect it to be. I saw something about Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner will now take on Hank Lundy on February the 25th in Atlanta. That's part of that deal we signed with the BLK outfit, the same company that put on the Terence Crawford fight. I think Adrian Broner signed a free fight, 10 million deal. If this is part of it, and I'm guessing it is, so say he's getting 3.33 million, whatever, to fight Hank Lundy. Jesus Christ, he is nicking a living. Because I saw Hank Lundy over here. Who did he fight? Was it Gary Cully? And he was disgraceful. Let me just double check. It might not have been, but I just remember the name. I think was it Gary Cully? No, it wasn't. Let me just type the name in. Hank Lundy. Who did he fight over here? And he basically, I think, Robbie Davis Jr. maybe? Was it Robbie Davis Jr.? Let's have a look. Yeah, Robbie Davis Jr. It was. He fought Robbie Davis Jr. and he got stopped very early in that fight, like very early. Since then, he's had two other fights after that and has been beaten in both of those. So basically, he's lost 4 in a row. In fact, let's make it what he's lost 6 of his last 8 fights, I think it is. So yeah, look, if Adrian Broner's getting paid $3.5 million or whatever it is to fight Hank Lundy, he must be rubbing his hands together like this. This is Christmas, because Hank Lundy is done. He's done. And if he's fighting him at 147 pounds, it's even worse. I think is it 147 pounds? Might be. I'm not quite sure, but I mean, Hank Lundy's a 135er really. But yeah. Anyway, look. Good luck to Broner in this comeback. What else is there? Let's have a look. This is an interesting heavyweight fight. Tony Yoka versus Carlos Takam. Carlos Takam was one of the names I said that Daniel Dubois should fight. I think he's a very solid pro. Tony Yoka's coming off that beating against Martin Bakole, and it was a beating. How's he recovered from that? Carlos Takam will always give you good rounds. Sometimes he causes the upset, but most times he takes a loss. But he doesn't lie down. Like he's not fallen into that sort of Kevin Johnson journeyman who expects to lose yet. He will come and he will give it a go and expect to win, but most times he loses. I think that's a very tough fight for Tony Yoka. March 11th in Paris. Tony Yoka was a guy, prior to the Martin Bakole fight, people were really thinking, including me, that this is a guy that surely would sort of make a run, sort of top 15, top 10 this year. And then obviously what happened against Bakole. Okay, Bob Arum here. This is a bit more on this situation with Usyk and Fury. Bob Arum says Usyk wants 50-50 for the Fury fight. That's not right if the fight is at Wembley. I'm guessing they're basically saying if it's at Wembley, then it's all going to be Tyson Fury crowd, so you can't have 50-50 for that. I get that. So I'm guessing it was 50-50 in the Middle East. See, this is what I'm trying to say. That means that Middle East contract is just, and you're starting again now. You're going to the negotiating table again. People, don't be surprised if this fight doesn't happen. Don't be surprised. Hearn assures return of Conor Benn. He is going to fight Chris Eubank, trust me. I think Conor Benn has put a few social media posts up, pretty much saying that he's good to go. He's going to fight soon, and we'll see, man. Like, I still wait to see what's going to happen. I'm not happy that it's the WBC that have made a ruling on this, but look, if Conor Benn is found innocent, and we wait to see how that is possible, then I'm guessing he's going to come back and fight immediately. Like, he'll fight on a card in March. Like, he'll be ready to go quick time. Philip Hrgovic, Anthony Joshua was a beast, but he started to box too much. Let's you get in the ring with him then. Let's see how you handle him. Because again, this is not me. Look at me, I was defending AJ there. But I saw Philip Hrgovic against Zhilei Zhang, and AJ would smash Philip Hrgovic. Convinced of it. But I wouldn't have said that prior to the Zhilei Zhang. I would have said, oh, that's a risky fight. Nah, not for me. Maybe AJ has started to box a little bit, or maybe just the levels have gone up and he's had to maybe learn to do that, because him trying to just power his way through fights when the level starts to get a bit hot, Andy Ruiz, Usyk wasn't going to be enough. So maybe he had to box a bit. But I do think there is an element of him having to go back to that. Just, I'm going to walk through you and you're not going to be able to handle me because I'm too big, too strong. There has to be an element of that. And that's why Derek James is his new trainer. When you do look at his two marquee fighters, and they have that dog, don't they? Like Errol Spence and Jamel Charlo literally have that, what we want to see AJ get back. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. All right, guys and girls, don't forget, tomorrow, 7 o'clock, we are live. Eubank Smith, as I said, but anything else, we'll chat as well. A good hour and a half, should be fun. Peace and love.